Let's talk more about alcohol and sexual harassment. Large company, been in the news lately. One of the things the company did to address harassment concerns was to institute a policy prohibiting excessive consumption of alcohol at work or working for the company, no matter where you are, on-site or off-site. And one of the things they had determined was that in 20% of instances of reported harassment, alcohol was involved in some way, or at least the person accused of harassment had consumed some alcohol. Is that something your company should do? Should you prohibit alcohol or excessive consumption of alcohol at company events? Let me talk about the two sides of this. One side, I don't think there's any question that alcohol is a risk factor. I've included it in risk factors in another one of these videos in at least three ways. One is, I don't think there's any dispute, it's not a legal proposition that people who consume too much alcohol, that it can impair your judgment, make you do things that you shouldn't do, and without the alcohol you know you shouldn't do. And that amount of alcohol can be different for different people. That's one. Two is, we talk a lot about judges and juries and what they expect from employers. Certainly judges and juries know that about alcohol as well. So even if people are not intoxicated, technically, if there's a company event, alcohol is involved, or a company dinner, alcohol is involved, that may put the company in a position where an outside decision maker will make certain conclusions about the level of responsibility of the company and the people representing the company at that. Third, and this may be less about harassment, more about discrimination claims, there's some talk out there when you read about this subject that if there's sort of a good old boy network within a company or within an industry that's associated with certain types of social events where it's harder for women to have access, golf might be one example, those tend to be associated with alcohol. So in some of the literature out recently, there's talk about that. It's a little less direct, but worth mentioning, I think. So the way I think of it is, the more alcohol you have, the less supervision you have over it, the higher a risk factor it is. It's not something you can say black or white, should or shouldn't have it, but as I say, it's a risk factor, and the risk goes up the less control you have over it. On the other hand, we hear a couple of things from clients. One is that it's part of the company culture that people like to spend time together, they like to go out to happy hour, have a few drinks, enjoy that. It would be really difficult to get rid of that. The other point here a lot is that it's not necessarily the company, it's the clients. And I believe that in some industries, the clients want to be dined and wined, and they expect that from me. You've got a big client dinner, there's going to be alcohol. Those are valid considerations. As I say, this is not something that's going to be the same answer for every single company, but it is something that the company should have an intentional dialogue about, consider the circumstances in which alcohol is consumed, talk about, probably with your counsel, what is the level of risk, and balance that against the other considerations.